Hi there guys, as a test to do an intro to the a video for the build of the F22, I thought I'd do a little bit of an intro to myself. My name's Tony, most of you guys know me as Lockie, most of my friends know me as Lockie. I'm a retired locksmith and that's why I get called Lockie. Anyway, to start with, I thought I'd just to try this new camera out, I thought I'd just do a little bit of bending, rolling of Depron and foam board, just to show you how I do it. I don't really intend to try and show you guys how to suck eggs, but a few of you have asked me to do a couple of instructional videos, so here we go. Okay, two types of medium that I've used. That's the foam board and Depron. Foam board is a little bit thinner than Depron. Depron generally 6mm, foam board is about 5mm. Now I've removed one paper from one side of the foam board to show you how I actually roll or bend both. Now with foam board you can actually roll and bend without doing anything to it because it's got the paper on, and of course you can bend it, roll it, but you will see as I've bent that, I'll try to zoom in a little bit on this. As I've bent that, you can see that it's got quite a lot of flat edges on it. Depron and foam board seems to bend better one way than the other. Now that one, as I say, has got lots of flats on it. Now if I bend it the other way, I'll cut a piece off this. If I bend it the other way, you can see it's bending, the grain is different. It's actually bending, rolling. Just roll it around, something like that. It's actually bent better that way than it did that way. So before you start bending or rolling, especially rolling, just test a piece first and see which way it bends the best or rolls the best. Okay, now if we were to try and do the same thing with Depron, I'll cut a few pieces of Depron. Again, Depron has got a grain and it will bend and roll better one way than the other, but if we try and do that, it will just simply crack. We need to put a surface on one side. So I generally just use standard everyday packaging tape. Make sure it's completely covered. Use a credit card or spatula or something just to make sure it's on there secure. Trim off the excess. And now it will roll. Quite easy, and you can get quite a tight bend, quite a tight roll on it. Now once you've got that roll to your desired size, if I cut that there, I can actually roll that again on a smaller mandrel. And rolling this around, it's about a half-inch piece of brass tubing. So I can get quite a tiny arc or circle or whatever with that. Now if I want to glue that together, and the edge is pretty square, like that. So now I'm going to be, the ends are usually the hardest bit to roll, and you need them to be rolled around pretty good. So we're now looking at probably something around about, it's about an inch and a quarter diameter, so it's quite a tight roll, and this is probably tighter or smaller than you'd ever want to go anyway. I'm going to use a bit of hot glue. If you can see that, some hot glue on there. I'm just going to put the two surfaces together. Off any excess. Just lift that up a little bit. I'll be better if I back out a bit. Okay. So now we've got that finished shaping and rolling that. But as you can see, I've got quite a tight, looking at that, it's about just over an inch and a quarter. As I say, I don't think you'd ever want to roll anything much smaller than that. But that just shows how small you can roll a Depron, and you can do equally the same with foam board. Now I've rolled it, I can take off, if I want to, I want to leave it on, but I can actually take off the packaging tape. Because it's not going to break, split anymore. And now I can sand it to shape, sand the edges. And do whatever I want with it really. Depron's beautiful medium to work with. You can get some really nice finishes with Depron, much nicer I think than foam board, but that's my opinion. But there we go, so that's rolling Depron, which I tend to use a little bit, but you must use some packaging tape on the outer surface before you roll it, otherwise it'll simply crack and break. Okay, in some of my builds I use a cut and score technique, which has probably been used many times by other guys, but there are two ways to do this. We have a line, say that's our line marked there, that we need to bend on. Now, depending whether we're going to bend a 45 or a 30 degree or a 90 degree even, will depend on how I would attack it. So first of all, I'm going to just put a cut in that, not all the way through, just sort of halfway through, and there are two ways to do this. You can either cut out the section, or you can use, this is what I use, it's just simply a handle from one of my cutting knives that I've sharpened to a point. Now you can use a piece of wooden dowel in various diameters for various widths of score. Now if I score that like that, I can widen that if I need to by just pressing on one side more than the other, or I can even use the other end. Now I can bend that, and I can bend it up to 45, up to 90 degrees like that. Or I can do the same sort of thing by cutting, again not all the way through, and then holding my knife on a 45 degrees and trimming out some of the foam like that. We'll do exactly the same thing. I prefer to do this one because you're actually leaving the foam in there, but on certain applications you may want to cut out that. And again you can fold it, and if it's not quite going to 45 degrees, you can either push it back, the foam, with the tool, or you could sand a little bit out of it to allow it to bend to 90 degrees. If you're only doing a bend that's about 45 degrees, again we just score, not all the way through, and depending on how much I need to bend would depend on how deep I make the score. See, I can now bend that to say 45 degrees. Now if I just run a bead of glue inside that, I can now bend that like that. Use a bit of scrap, wipe out any excess. And just hold it until it's dry. I do like this method of building because you can get some really nice, especially with foam board, some nice tight corners, nicely shaped, without a lot of work really. Now if I was to use Depron to do the same thing, I would need to again tape the outer surface, clean off any excess, what I'm going to bend, otherwise it will simply break. So again I'm going to score that through right through, just about halfway again, and use my little scoring tool. And depending how much I need to bend this would depend again how much scoring I do, how deep I do it. Again, if we use some glue in there, bend that. Any excess. I've not bent this to any particular angle. I just want to show you how easy it is to bend, and then we can sand it. Because we've still got all the foam inside the bend, rather than cutting it away and leaving a gap, by scoring it with this little scoring tool, it leaves all the foam in there, it just simply compresses it. Now if I take off the tape from there, I can sand that. Now I can move the radius. As you see, I can sand that. Now, I've used hot glue there. Hot glue is not the best for sanding. You may want to use a different glue, foam tack maybe, or Yoo-hoo glue, or some of you use the foaming type glues. Would probably, if you're going to be sanding the edge like that, would probably be better maybe using a foaming type glue. And you quite possibly may want to make a little doubler type gusset if you're going to be sanding deeper, and sticking it in there so that you could sand that quite a lot deeper and make a lot bigger radius. But I wouldn't be using hot glue for that if I was going to do that and sand it any deeper. But as you can see, you get a nice square bend doing it that way. Okay, that's the first little introduction, I think, to bending and rolling. If there's anything else you'd like me to show you on this particular subject, just let me know and we'll see what we can do. Thanks guys.